Before we get started creating the actual punch list in Civil Pro, I recommend importing any of the photos that you've taken during your defect walkover and popping them into a folder called pre-photos, for example, and also scanning in any of your markups that you made. Typically, you'd walk around with an A3 set of drawings and you'd mark up where you've got defects, you'd number them, and also what the defect was. So it's good to scan those in and have those on hand, and I'll show you where those are pulled into Civil Pro as well. Ignore the post photos now. Those will be populated once you've actually done that final walkover to close out the punch list. All right, here we are in Civil Pro Web App in the punch list section. To create a punch list, all we do is click Add Punch List, add details, the time, the place, the separable portion, and the date, for example, just so everyone knows what the walkover represents, who this was created by, and the date will automatically populate as today. To speed things up here, I have created a punch list, and this one here. Once we've created a punch list, the first thing we want to do in here is assign who is going to be the checker, the verifier, and the approver. And this just allows that granularity of approval of the remediated defects. So to do that, all we do is we select new defects, the new punch list that we've created. Go into related items here, and to assign each person, we'll click this role here. So here I can assign that the site engineer, click save, is going to be the checker for all items. I'll then add my supervisor, project engineer here, and I'm going to say they're going to be the verifier for each of the items. And then I've already added here, but I would select the principal representative or the client as the approver for each of those items, so they'll have the final say in the rectification. Cool, those are all set up. Now jumping into our punch list, we find it's good practice and traceability if the first item that we add is markups from walkover. So to add a new item, we'll click new item, we'll give it a number and a description. So you can see the first one I've added here is markups from walkover, and the purpose of this line item is not to specifically be approved, but it's just so we can add that PDF version of the markups of the construction drawings. So here, this markup here will include all of the defects as identified, the locations and the numbers on site. So that's just a good reference point. When we add an item that is an actual defect, same process, we'll number it, we'll give it a description, and then we'll assign who is responsible for it. And that's just a way of assigning which team member is going to be closing out that defect and ultimately ensuring that it's completed. We'll add all of our line items in here, all the defects, and then we'll add our pre-photographs. And these are going to be useful when we produce a final report because we'll show the pre-photograph and the post-photograph. To do that, select the line item and select related items, and then beside the photos, we'll click plus. Here we're to that folder that I showed you at the very start of this video, and I'll jump into the pre-photos, and here I've got the labeled item defect 1, and this is the disastrous guardrail. So we'll select that, I've already added it. To note, when a photo is added here, if the photo description or the title here is not very descriptive, you can easily rename and call it X and then suffix with pre. And that just shows you that it's the pre-photograph and will keep everyone aware of what that photograph represents. We'll repeat that process for each of these and add all of the pre-photos. Once we've added the pre-photos, we're out there, we're fixing defects. After we have fixed the defects, that same process will pull all of the post photographs into our Windows Explorer folder and have those ready so we can add them into here. Once we are back in Civil Pro, we're happy the defects closed out, we'll jump into this punch list. For this defective guardrail, for example, I'm now going to attach the post photograph. Same process, select that item, click plus, and here I'm going to navigate to my post photographs. Again, good practice to label these correctly as they come in so you know what they are. But if not, we can always label them in Civil Pro. Here's that nice straight guardrail. Perfect, I've got a pre, I've got a post. So for that line item now, I can check this. Now, based on those roles or those assignments we added in here, the project engineer, who is a person in this project, I've labeled them project engineer so it's clear to you, but they can now select this verified. And then ultimately your client can select this approved box here. What we'll do is we'll firstly add all of those post photos. So for the seal damage here, I'll add the post photo. Now I've added all of those pre and post photographs. I, as the engineer, will now check all of these items in here. Cool, all checked. Now I can either notify my project engineer or I can tap them on the shoulder. If I want to notify them that this is ready for their review and close out to check each of those pre and post photographs and the related items, I can save and close this. I can right click, notify selection, and here I can select them by name and follow this process through, and it will send them a notification noting that this punch list is ready for their review and close out. Once your project engineer or the verifier closes out all of their items in here, now it's time to either notify your client or send them a notification. As we did with our senior, we can notify them that this punch list is ready for their review. To do that, again, we'll save and close. Right click, notify selection, and then we'll send it to them. Here we are in the client's view of the punch list register. They would have received an email notification from yourselves saying this punch list is ready for their review. From here, they can open that punch list and they can see all of the items or the defects in here, and the checked and the verified. If they want to see the pre and post photographs, what they can do is navigate to this punch list, make sure it's selected, and click here, punch list report. What that will do is it will print out a report that they can inspect, and this will show the pre and the post photographs of each of those defects. If they're happy that all of the post defect photographs round out that defect, in the punch list itself they can open this up and select approved in these boxes. And when they do that, their name and date will be put against those line items. So that closes out each of the punch list line items. Shortly, in the actual punch list here, they'll be able to access related items and see the pre and post photographs here, and that's being implemented as we speak. Once the client has approved all items within that punch list, if we jump back now to the engineer or the contractor's view, we can now see all of those approvals from the client have now been captured here. Now, before we close out this punch list, what we're going to do for this markups one here, we aren't expecting there to be a check, a verified or an approved against this line item. So what we can do here with this line item selected is just jump in here and say check not required, verified not required, and approved not required. This should now allow us to close out the punch list. And the punch list is closed out. We now save and close. We can see that punch list is now coloured green and it is marked as closed.